Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So very often the spiritual master is in such a rasa.
No, it's not very rare. This is the modern, everything has to be madhuryas. It is not very rare. It's very common. Shantarasa is not the dirt you sweep out of your house. People tend to think that they're thinking everything mundane, actually. All these people have not the slightest touch with that world. They're not even touching the outside gate, but they want to talk madhurya, madhurya, madhurya. It's all just armchair philosophy. Govardhan Hill is Shantaras. The flute of Krishna is Shantaras. And Krishna is kissing that flute day and night. And the gopis are slapping their faces. How fortunate is the flute. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was amazed that what type of understanding about rasa, the criminal rasa, vatsalya, friendship with Krishna, those who can climb on top of Krishna's shoulders, and vice versa, he will ride on their shoulders as Shantaras. So that is actually it is not like that it's uncommon. It is quite common. Now in Mahaprabhu's school, we find, of course, because of this particular speciality of Mahaprabhu, then there were many Madhurya Bhaktas at that time. That is the rare thing. That is so rare that it is said even the Vedas forgot that it existed. The Vedic knowledge is very, very extensive. But such a long time had elapsed since Mahaprabhu had come to the world that even the Vedas had forgotten this. Now it will happen in the future that the Caitanya Charitamrita will become a Purana, like in the next Kalpa. It will be there as a Purana. Now don't ask me where I got this information, but I know it's going to be that way. Because it was once forgotten, now it is very fresh, as Srila Prabhupada used to say, within the recent history of our memory. 500 years ago, this is nothing. 500 years is nothing in big history. So we can see so many things of 500 years age in India. This is nothing. Buildings, almost people almost. There used to be some people claiming to be 500 years old not so long ago. Prabhupada told once, there are yogis 1,000 years old living in Himalayas. So 500 years is nothing. So it is all very fresh, but and in everyone's memory, even the historians have that some access to the historical appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and so forth. So, but as time goes on, then of course it becomes more of a distant memory, and it becomes an old memory, it becomes a Purana. It becomes a distant memory, the Puranas, the ancient history. But now it's fresh history. Chaitanya Charitamrita is existing in one book, but in another Kalpa it may come to the Puranas. Then in time and time and time we may find some mention of it only here and there, a verse, esoterically mentioned. And then, as is the case now, there's a Upanishad called Chaitanya Upanishad. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said it had vanished from the memory of everyone. It was gone, all but gone. And then one single copy was revealed, was given to him. And many people say that Chaitanya Upanishad doesn't really exist because we're the only ones that have it. Nobody else has a copy of it. Not only is it written in Sanskrit, however, it is written in Old Sanskrit, which has what is called, what is it called? Not meter. Everything has some meter. What is it called? It's a special name. Have you heard the chanting on sometimes the tapes where they go, aham, aha, aha, and there's this kind of singing? That's what it is. Only original Vedas are written like that. Puranas are not written like that. You can't sing the Bhagavatam like that. It is not like that. Bhagavad Gita is Mahabharat. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mahat sarvam pravartate. It's sung like that. That aha, ha, ha, and all this that you hear. That's only Vedas, 4 Vedas and Upanishads. It's very rare. Swarga, that's what it is. All those sounds are called, not Swarga, Swada. They're very hard to find anybody who, even if Swada is there, knows how to say it. It is not in vogue in the north. Very much it is in the south, and still it's hard to find people who know how to see and know that. So one thing is, it is written in very old style of, ancient style of Sanskrit, which is customary for the Vedas and Upanishad, this Chaitanya Upanishad. So that would be considered like as an external evidence. We're not much concerned with external evidences. If somebody proved that Bhaktivinoda Thakur made it up himself, well, I'd take it as good as Krishna speaking it. But somebody who doesn't have that faith, they might not care for that. What do we care for them? Now that aspect is not anything out of the ordinary either. That we have things that we believe in. If anybody, even someone proves them wrong, we don't even care for their proof. Almost every single religion in the world, and even the other paramparas in India, they all share this similar trait. Here in this country, the Mormons have books. Nobody believes in them except the Mormons. Only the Mormons can prove where they came from, and nobody else. The Christian has such books also. The Jews have such books also. The Madhvas have them. The Ramanujas. Everybody has things that are just there in their community or their religion. Those things may have descended from the eternal plane of truth at the time when that religion, that concept or that installment of God consciousness was coming forth, so something appropriate to that was given to the people who were receiving it. And the people who weren't receiving it, they weren't receiving it. They didn't get a copy. If your grandmother sends you $100 in the check, should the neighbor expect in the mail, a check in the mail, do the neighbors expect to get a copy too? No, it came to you. So it doesn't come down to everyone. So different levels of truth at different time over many centuries spread over a planet. Different things to different people are given. And even within India it's that way. Brahma Samhita is another book. There was a place where it was being chanted. And even that place can't remember that it was ever there. If you go to Tiruvattar and Adikeshava temple and ask the Brahmins, they only know about Brahma Samhita because so many devotees keep coming there and asking them, do you have any ancient copies? Is it carved on the wall somewhere? That's the only reason they even know it exists. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned that when Mahaprabhu went there, he found these Brahmins on the palm leaves. They were chanting the fifth chapter of Brahma Samhita. And Mahaprabhu was very charmed by that book. More than charmed. That book, Brahma Samhita, contains the essence of Mahaprabhu's religion, so to speak. So he had a copy made, one copy, wrapped it in a cloth and took it with him. So in my understanding, it's no wonder the other one vanished, was Mahaprabhu took it with him. There was a copy laying behind, but that was all divine arrangement of his own arrangement, Mahaprabhu's own arrangement. The Brahma Samhita will be awaiting him. And he just picked it up on the way. And then it had been there for a purpose. He took a copy. Then the other copy vanished after time, just vanished. So the Chaitanya Upanishad is also very similar to that. It was gone. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he wrote about it. It is all gone, but one copy has manifest. And the reason he said it had gone was, I think he mentions in relation to the interest of the people in Mahaprabhu. They had actually lost the genuine interest, the following of Mahaprabhu. And therefore, the Chaitanya Upanishad had just withdrawn from sight. It has just gone back. It is not just a matter of printing things on books, and then that is assured that the truth will remain. That's a good way to propagate a mission. The only way to assure the truth remains is when individuals realize the truth in succession. Then it remains. Otherwise, all books can be torched, gone in a fire, swept away in a flood, blown away in a storm. And sometimes the scripture hides itself for a purpose also. It happens that when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to Bengal, he could not find Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Bhagavat was available everywhere. The Sahaji is very much like Chaitanya Bhagavat. As there's very little to no philosophy in Chaitanya Bhagavat. The strictness cannot be found in Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's all Leela. It's just Leela. And in Leela, we will get our license for nonsense. Because Leela has some touch with the mundane world also. Prakrita Leela, it's called. Prakrita Leela. But it is aprakrita. It is above the mundane world, but it has a similarity to the mundane world. So Leela is dangerous, actually. It is very similar to the mundane world, yet it is completely different, you see. First there is the mundane world. Then there's the world of renunciation, which is called Brahmalok. Then there is the world of, how is that called? There's this Paravyoma, spiritual sky, Vaikuntha, what is it? Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja. The transcendental plane. And then beyond the transcendental world. Transcendental world means it is different than this world. For example, Narayan has 4 arms. He is in the transcendental world. He's quite different than the way you look. He's huge. Huge, infinitely huge, with 4 arms. So many things are quite different there. Have you ever seen anybody with 4 arms? No, we only have 2 arms. But when you reach to Goloka, everybody has 2 arms there. Again, a mundane similarity. In the higher plane beyond Vaikuntha, some mundane connection. Lord Narayan has no mother. But Krishna has a mother, Mother Yasoda. Again, a mundane connotation is there in the higher world. Back to Christianity, God made us in His image, and this world in the image of His village also. You see. In the beginning, people were forest dwellers, as He is a forest dweller. He lives in a village in a forest. Understand? So, Vaikuntha is in between, is completely different and completely transcendental. But when reaching Goloka, mother, father, friends, lover, all these things, even pets. Krishna has pet dogs also. He has 2 dogs. In one of our books lying around here, the names of those dogs are given. I had no dog in Vaikuntha. Sorry. It is different than this world. So the world is Prakrita Leela, this world. And the Adhokshaja, the transcendental world. And then the aprakrita world. So before we can properly be connected with that aprakrita, Goloka, we have to cross the Vaikuntha. Become fully purified of any mundanity on this side, you see. Otherwise, going there, we'll see all those things, but we don't know what they are. We only know those things in this mundane world. Father, mother, brother, sister, lover, cat, and dog. You see, we only know those things in this world. And if we see those things in that world, we will not be able to escape our previous history. And eventually we will come to deal with those things as we deal with this mundane world. Many times when you read the things that are against dealing with the higher topics, it says, and therefore, and they engage in illicit sex life. So then, those people who are dealing with those higher topics at present, they will say, Oh, we're not dealing in an illicit sex life. And the answer is, you've only been doing it a year or two. Give it a decade. Understand? It takes a little time. It's just like you can stick your hand in fire and not get burned. It's not that you stick your hand in the fire over the oven and it just burns you, 3rd degree burn, right? But eventually you just keep doing that and keep your hand in there and then it burns. The law of material nature acts. And there are laws all the way to the spiritual world. They differ in different planes, but the law, the necessity of qualification is there. And if those go without qualification, burned. They'll be burned. And this burns for the Sridhar Maharaj could be the worst of all. Our eternal prospect spoiled. The highest thing that you could ever go for, spoiled. You see? So, so Chaitanya Bhagavat was very popular because it only deals with Leela. Chaitanya Charitamrita was not so popular, but we look at it from another side, that Chaitanya Charitamrita had hid itself also. You don't say, gee, those people, they just couldn't appreciate, and therefore they didn't keep up Chaitanya Charitamrita. That may be there. But we look and say, no, Chaitanya Charitamrita hid itself, waiting for his devotees, Mahaprabhu's devotees, to come. They will need provision. They've entered the world to fight a war against misconception and Maya. They will need ammunition. Just like in war times, they'll do this thing, they'll drop things behind enemy lines, provisions will be dropped ahead of the soldiers, and then they'll go in on foot or whatever, and they'll reach to there, and there'll be guns, ammunition for them. Otherwise, how they fight their battle without a provision? So something hidden there. When the war in Serbia was there, they hid these homing devices. They went in and hid them all over Serbia, way in advance of the war, way in advance. That's another topic. So then, when the airplanes came, they just locked in on these things, and those bombs went right into people's bathroom windows, practically. Where they were supposed to go, they went. So they made a provision ahead of time that when the fight starts, they will connect. Do you follow? So the provision, the devotees need their provisions. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, although it was written 450 years ago, by the time of Bhakti Vinod and just before, it hid itself and it was not in vogue. People had just forgotten about it. And he searched for 1 year in Orissa, in Puri, couldn't find a copy. Searching for 1 year, couldn't find a copy. No copy in the king's library, no copy here, no copy there. Finally, he discovered a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most unmeddled with scripture in the world. Because you know the history of the Bible, we've been part of it, it's humorous. I mean, that thing has been changed like a puppet's dress, just to suit the show. And in India also, no exception, many things. There you'll find in Upanishad, they'll have different verses. Even Bhagavatam, different verses. Some Bhagavatams dropping whole chapters. Different things are there. Interpolation. You'll find a Purana. It might not even have been an original Purana. Of course, someone will say, yeah, that's just like the Chaitanya Chaitanya Upanishad also. This is not a real one. No. It may be real, it may not be real, but if the higher Vaishnava accepts it, it is real. Wherever it came from. It came from the plane of the real. Sattvata Samhita it is called. The eternal plane. Don't think, the Vedas are living up there in the mouth of Vishnu, The Vedas emanate from his mouth, so he's got all these books stuffed in his mouth, right? Every once in a while, push one into the material world. It says the Vedas emanate from the mouth of Vishnu. And a bunch of palm leaves are stuffed in his mouth. It is not like that. He is speaking his breath. The Vedas emanate from that. But another way to understand that is an eternal plane of truth. Eternal, always there. Sometimes revealing itself, sometimes not revealing itself. Then, revealing itself where? Generally, it is not just walking along and a book is laying on the path, you see. truth generally descends first through the writer of the book. Who writes the book? You know, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says Vyasadeva taught the Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. But did you ever ask yourself, well, what did he teach him? What did he teach him? Did he teach him Sukadeva Uvacha? Did he teach him what he would say later? That's in the Bhagavatam. Did he teach him Sutta Uvacha? Sukha spoke the Bhagavatam even after him. What did he teach him? Well, it says he taught him 4 verses only. That's it. It's Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. He taught him 4 verses. And he tells him, these are the same 4 verses that Narada taught me. And Narada told Vyas, these are the same 4 verses that Brahma taught me. And Brahma told Narada, these are the same 4 verses that Krishna taught me. Then what is this? This is the experience of those teachers and learners. And then it comes to the world. This is their experience. You see. This is what came out of those 4 verses. And after, this is interesting, after this big book is spoken, I mean, when it was spoken to Sutta Goswami, when Sutta Goswami spoke it, go back. When Maharaj Parikshit heard from Sukadeva Goswami in 7 days, a lot was said. But what Sukadeva learned was only 4 verses. So then he spoke. Right. Later again, it was spoken once or 2 more times. Then it was written in a book form. Actually, Vyasadeva wrote the experience down twice. Not once. He wrote it twice. He wrote it and then he rewrote it again. After Sutta spoke, he wrote it again. And I forget exactly where he wrote it in between. But he wrote it twice. Initially and then final, which includes the speaking of the others and their realizations. And so forth. So, but at the point of Maharaj Parikshit hearing the Bhagavatam, then Sukadeva Goswami had spoken, and Maharaj Parikshit is hearing, and when it was all over, still there was some time, according to his the curse, he had some time left. His mother approached. Uttara, his mother's Uttara. So she approached and said, please give me the essence, speak in a way that I can understand, your mother, the essence of what you have heard from your great master Sukadeva. Day and night for almost 7 days you've heard. Now if you can just give me the essence. So if someone was asked afterwards, okay, Maharaj gave a class this morning, please repeat the essence. You would surely go to one of the stories I told or one of the examples that I told, state that example and say basically that was the essence of the class. Wouldn't you? Would you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when Maharaj Parikshit then sat and spoke to his mother, he didn't repeat even one of the examples of the whole Bhagavatam, what anything he'd heard. He didn't repeat one story. He told a completely different set of stories, so to speak, which is now known as Brihat Bhagavatam Amrita, the great nectar of the Bhagavatam. But none of those stories are in the Bhagavatam. Well, what type of nectar is it? Realized nectar. Realization. He gave the essence of what the whole Bhagavatam is about. And again, through the story form. That is the most palatable media to gain anything very substantially. Is through this, what we call story form. The Puranas are an example. The Vedas, you bang your head forever trying to figure it all out. And even there, the Upanishads, which are so much of the best part of the Vedas, those are all conversations usually. And then when one rishi speaks to another or his disciple, that little section, a certain section of that speaking is called that particular Upanishad. You see, they come out of dialogues, which are what? Parts of stories. So even there, the story form. So in the story form of Brihat Bhagavatam Amrita, he gives the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, doesn't repeat anything of the same story. In another sense, some people will think without telling stories about your guru, how is it you are the follower of your guru? But this is not a measure. This is actually not a measure. Because his order was not tell stories about me. That was not his order. The disciple may tell many, he may tell less, he may tell none even. Just like some people, they are so easily bewildered about the path. If it contains the words Manjari, Madhurya, Rasa, Leela, they go for it. They have no discrimination. All over the world, I mean telling you, all over the world, devotees are so drawn in to some of the most imitation processes of devotional service. I mean, extreme. Running like a huge number. Amazing. No discrimination. It is high. It is sweet. Don't trust sweet. There's one very nice subject at Govindaji Gardens. You may have heard about it while you were there this last time. It's a shock, leafy vegetable. It's not sweet like sugar candy or something, but as a vegetable, very sweet. Ooh, tasty, sweet, good taste, right? Ooh, it's one of the most profound laxatives on this planet. A little dab will do you. A bowl of really ruin your day. You ask Madhava Maharaj what happened when he ate a big bowl of that delicious subject. Him and Avadut Maharaj. So, is it good? Is taste the media that we will take more? That it is good, sweet? Is that the taste? No, not necessarily. Many bad things may be sweet also. Sweet is not balanced. If children eat sweet, 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 teeth are falling out and they get worms. Sweet must be taken after the balanced meal and not in excess. Then it is good. Lacking proper discrimination. What is discrimination? Discrimination means the plane of a Madhyamadikari. A Kanishthadikari can't discriminate, and an Uttamadikari doesn't have to discriminate. But the Madhyam, which is the 90+% of the journey, it's all about proper discrimination. So people don't want to take the journey, you see. As Bhakti Vinoda, of course, said they want the mangoes, but they don't want to take the trouble to climb the tree. You want a coconut, but you don't want to take the trouble to climb the tree. Then by the time the thing falls to the ground for you, you see, the juice has gone sour, and the coconut's so hard you can't chew it. So what type of coconuts you get without climbing the tree? So, of course, you'll stand there and throw rocks at it, and pelt the things and try to knock them out of the tree. But those who are experienced will go and pluck the coconuts at different stages, giving all the variety of taste. But they don't want to take the trouble. You see, they don't want to pay the price. And the price is a journey in the plane of discrimination, proper discrimination. They don't want to do that. And therefore, they're, in many ways, they're easily bewildered. Some are bewildered about higher topics. Other people can't discriminate, take the higher topic in a pure form and throw it out. It's called throw the baby out with the bathwater. Other people jump in the bathwater with the baby. And I give this example, and it's a little bit at another level. You can show up at any ISKCON temple at 2 o'clock in the night with your whole band of banditos, right? And just bang on the door. You go, Haribol, glory to Prabhupada. Haribol, glory to Prabhupada. The person will come to the door and go, Jai Rup, and just open the door. Because he heard all glories to Srila Prabhupada. If I'm in there, I'll come to the door and I'll go, what are you doing out there? It's 2 o'clock. Glories to Prabhupada. Yeah, glories to Prabhupada. What do you want? What are you doing on my door? Jai Prabhu. Jai Prabhu. Who are you? It's like, I don't open the door for somebody. Jai Prabhu. They were doing that back in, they show that in war movies all the time. You know? The guy comes to the bunker, bang, bang, bang. Hallelujah. A guy opens the door and they're finished, you know. People who are trained, they don't respond to these buzzword things. buzzword, kind of, I mean, like military people. They don't respond to that stuff. There are deeper passwords that only those who are really the people, they know that. So there's a deeper plane of understanding where you are always safe. But you have to enter deep into understanding to come to that. And probably in the thinking of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and the thinking of Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur, and the thinking of Srila Puri Maharaj, many, many people are across the line of safety in the danger zone. Some are stepping back towards the proper line of safety, and others are so far over there, they're in the napalm zone. The next time the forest gets torched, they'll be in it. One devotee said, he said that we're always cutting the jungle. He said, the jungle has already been cut. Well, then what is it I'm cutting? If I'm always cutting the jungle, but the jungle's been cut, then what is it I'm cutting? You see? And then I saw one of his books called Gaudiya Vaishnavism versus Sahajya. Versus. Versus means head to head. Tyson meets Folsom. Head to head. Versus. You see. This thing was about 16 pages thick. While reading it, the wind almost blew it out of my hand. And basically, if a Sahajya came to your house with a nose ring, for a guy came to your house wearing a sari with a nose ring, telling you he was Lalita Devi, definitely you could get him with this book. This book gave you enough information to cut the jungle. That's it. There was nothing else in it. There was nothing else in it. And I realized, they can't cut the jungle because they're in the jungle. And if they cut the jungle, they'll cut the legs of their own people. You see. But we're cutting the jungle because we're keeping everybody out of the jungle first. The jungle means it's an expression for misunderstanding, inappropriate dealings. It is such a critical thing that the Guru mantra had been so polluted. Guru mantra of Gayatri. You have to read the Gayatri book. Chapter on Guru Gayatri. Guru Gayatri. It had been so contaminated by misappropriation that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta changed it. And that Guru Gayatri that had been passed down through our parampara up till the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, then he changed it. So there's a history on that. If you read that Gayatri book, our Gayatri, Mantrartha Dipika, there's a nice, quite clear explanation of that. What was the previous mantra, what parts are changed, why he changed it. Even the mantra, particularly, he chose it there. All the mantras were polluted. But rather than change them all, he went to the root cause of things. And he also then introduced the Brahma Gayatri, which is not in vogue in the Gaudiya Vaishnava sectors. But these two things were the foundation, fixing it at the foundation, and then building it up from there. And then the Kama Gayatri and Gopal Mantra, they got proper nourishment as it grew up from the root, adjusting the root. Like you see a tree, its leaves are dying. You go there, ooh, and rub the leaf. It just dies. A smart, tree surgeon, he goes to the root. He digs in the root. He packs in some fertilizer or goes in and cuts off a defected root. He makes a choice. This has to go. And then it will live. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did like that. He considered many things. Some things had to go. Other things were adjusted. And then life was given to the proper conception. Narada, we were way back in our conversation. Something I thought about in Narada Muni. Because I wanted to mention, Nityananda Prabhu is not in Madhurya Ras. Nityananda Prabhu is Sakya Ras, with some Vatsalya Ras, Uddhava, Krishna's friend in Dwarka and Mathura, Uddhava. He is also Sakiras with some feelings of Vatsalya towards Krishna. Baladev also has that because he's the older brother. The older brother naturally has a little bit of parental feeling towards his younger brothers and sisters. They're brothers and sisters, but the older one is looking after. So, let me see, when was that one? Last year there was an article called Particle of Dust that came out on the Krishna Talk. And it was about the aspiration through humility. Aspire to become a speck of dust. So Achyutananda's mother went on our website, the first time she ever went on the website, and that's the first thing she went to. And she wrote back to him and said, "Your highest goal is to become a piece of dirt?" He said, "Well, let me tell you, that dirt's not like this dirt. That's like really special dirt." But it sounded so strange to her, you people that pray to become a speck of dust. But she's obviously not religious. If you study into Catholicism and all these things, you'll come to the foot dust of Jesus in their prayers too, ultimately. When people had culture, there are many things in the deeper side, but people are just surface dwellers, until the wind blows them off and they're dead. So, but many devotees, especially the Rasic section, they didn't like that. Calling for humility, calling for caution, calling for qualification. The very qualification that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed the most. And in his I wrote another article some months later called His Last Instructions. It was based on an article that Srila Puri Maharaj did. And he gives this instruction, I think 7 times in his last words before he left this world. Aspire for the dust at the feet of the followers of Rupa Goswami. Sometimes he's mentioning Rupa Goswami directly, sometimes who are the followers of Rupa Goswami, even that dust. So I had to explain one devotee, Prabhu, try to understand. You pray to be a speck of dust. It's not that Krishna goes, "You got what you wanted." But even if he did, don't think that speck of dust is anything greater than millions of Himalayas. It's greater than all the knowledge. It is greater than all the pleasure of this world millions of times. This speck of dust outguns the totality of this world a zillion times over. We don't know what is that dust, Stephen. But he will not make his devotee a speck of dust. But the aspiration of the devotee is that even the most insignificant drop of a connection with the higher world, it is infinitely greater than anything here. So that's in his vision. But he doesn't become a piece of dirt, a piece of dust. You follow? But the aspiration is there. No, we should aspire. We should aspire to be gopis, they told. What do the gopis aspire for? They aspire to be dust at Krishna's lotus feet. So what is a gopi? They have the faintest idea. And therefore they will be born as women in their next life. That's the judgment. Not that that's bad.
Quick phone call.
And maybe the women who are there will be born as men. But they will not go there in that plane. By their hokey meditations. By their shortening the process. You see, by their cheapening the process, all these things. All will be waste. So what is a speck of dust? Uddhava prays to be a speck of dust. Or a blade of grass in Vrindavan. The gopis praise the dust at Krishna's feet. They praise the flute, the shantaras. So, and who is Rupa Goswami? All these things have to be taken in. Of course, they know who he is. They just don't know the proper process of adjustment in dealing with the higher peoples, the higher things of that world, and how to approach that world. So that is a defect, actually. That was yes. So there's the very. Did you see the latest article that came around? Vishnu Maharaj sent it around. It's by Vishnu Maharaj and Giri Maharaj. Well, there's some quotes in there at the end, which were given to me 8 years ago. That was stolen correspondence. So therefore, I just folded it over, put it in an envelope, and put it away. I shouldn't have even kept it in one sense. But because of the nature of what it dealt with, I just had to keep it. I never showed it to anybody except Tripurari Maharaj. It was exchanged letters between different, very high people in ISKCON and what they were dealing with. And one of the quotes between them is, "What color sari should I meditate on my spiritual master," meaning Prabhupada. So, of course, he's not going to think of Prabhupada wearing a sari, so he's calling him his spiritual master. That means in the spiritual world. So he's writing, "What color sari should I meditate that my spiritual master, Prabhupada, is wearing?" This was their type of meditation. So that's going on a lot, actually. That stuff is going on a lot. So that when it takes its pristine form, is called Ekdas Bhav. It is evolved into a complete system. That you'll be told all sorts of things about the spiritual world, right down to your guru's place, the village you live in, the service you do, the color clothes you wear. The Guru Gopal's sitting there bumming. I don't want to be a gopi. I want to be a cowherd boy. Well, the girls are thinking, fine, being a gopi's fine. You know, that's the best. Because we're thinking of cowherd boy, gopi, and everything in relation to this world. So we're not interested. Almost you can say, we're not interested in that. We're only interested in this world. Be here now. I want to be the servant of the Vaishnava. I want to serve Guru and Krishna. That's what I want. And I'll live my life, and when I die, if I've been a good servant, they'll take me. That is our mood. Then, by their wish, we may come to know so many things about that world that is our destination before we reach there. We may. Certainly we will. Already we have, and certainly more we will know. But just knowing about that world does not get us there. Qualification. Oh, such a good servant. Bring him here. He can really do service here. This world, you know, every day there's a dog chasing your service. Just dogging your service. It's something, it's somebody, it's your own body, your own mind. It's just dogging your service. Well, one day that dog will be gone. We'll go to the place where there are no such dogging elements, dragging at our heels to pull us down. But if we're a dog ourselves, we won't be allowed to go there. Means if we are just a center of anarthas, unwanted dealings and moods and all this stuff with them, we won't be welcome there. Why should we? And we shouldn't expect, no, I want to go anyway. Well, that means you have no love for those people. You have no love for your Lord. You want to go there, but you're not pure enough to go there. You want to bring dirtiness and be there also. Then that means you're not. That shows even further. It's just like if somebody wants to cook, but they're not clean to cook, but they want to cook for that person. Oh, never mind, I'm not clean, I'll cook anywhere. Well, that means then you don't really have love for the person you're going to cook for or whatever, because you want to do that when you're not fit to do that. You're not clean to do that. But did you want to do that? No, you should want to be clean and do that service nicely, and it goes like that. So anyway, that is called Ekdas Bhav. Ekdas. Ek is 1, Das is 10. Ekdas Bhav means 11 details of your Bhav in the spiritual world. This is also written extensively in the Parampara book. It explains all those things. Ekdas Bhav. So we have a new system. Didn't know you were there behind the pole. We have a new system. It's called Ekdas Bhav. Ekdust. Ekdust Bhav. We aspire to be one dust, particle of dust, at the feet of Krishna. And we're not alone in that prayer. Read the Shikshastakam of Mahaprabhu. He himself prays, make me a speck of dust. If you can't swallow that down, if you can't take that prayer, that idea on your head and be happy with it, you will never approach that world. And when I wrote that article, people, not hundreds of them, but significant people, hundreds of others, they wrote some, well, I think we have to take that in adjustment. Begging the question. I wrote back, Mahaprabhu didn't take it in adjustment. He took it on his head. And that's what we do. We don't take it in adjustment. Well, that's some other thing. Well, that's there, but nothing. And what they don't know is if you take that on your head, then the real thing is there waiting for you also. Packaged out of the jungle, beyond misconception. You enter into the real thing instead of the I want thing that has some of the same vocabulary and may even look the same for most people's discrimination. But you enter into another thing, another plane, the real thing. That is the door. That is the secret passage. And Mahaprabhu has led the way. Now they can complain, but they complain. Once the Puri Goswami commented, all these things are there. 10th canto, Bhagavatam, Krishna's Rasa Leela, all these things are there. Other things are written, Goswami works, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Govinda Leela Amrita, all these things are there. Where's the qualification? Where's the qualification? And even one qualified speaker may be there, where's the qualification for the listener? That must also be there. There's one Sukadeva Goswami, and there's one Maharaj Parikshit. Then there's a Bhagavatam discourse. Not that there's one Sukadeva Goswami and there's one fool as his disciple. That produces nothing. Understand? He told, where's the qualification? Must be qualification for the higher subject matter. There are many more things on this topic, examples, some different things are said. So, anyway. But once there was a devotee, he went to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he came to hear and see all these things about Leela Smarnam. Do you know Leela Smarnam? Mother Leela Smarnam, she's sitting right over there. It means, Smarna means remembering. Leela means Krishna's pastime. So the remembrance of Krishna and his Leela. Leela Smarnam it is called. So that's the Ektas Bhav, and there are many things about that. So then the one devotee wrote back, and he asked Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, in Vrindavan I have come to see and hear these things. What is the position? So he did not say none of these things are false. He says, yes, these are the higher truths of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The Leela of Krishna is the highest plane of understanding, the higher plane of knowledge and all these things. They are there. He says these things are infinite at every step, every atom, every part of the Leela of Krishna. It is infinite. And the totality of this world is finite. All of this universe together is this finite dot. And even a dot in Krishna is infinite. So he said, so those infinite Leelas don't look good in your small mouth. He said, it doesn't look good in our small mouth. So it's like a framing of a picture. You frame it and say, it doesn't look good in that frame. So that infinite world of Krishna's Leela framed in our mouth doesn't look good. So he's saying it in that way. It doesn't look good. It is not good, he's saying, that you will try to capture that world in that way in your mouth. It doesn't look good. It shows that you're always talking about that world and trying to take everything to detail. It does not look good means actually you don't know what that world is there. And you have no real regard for that world. That world hides itself. When we hear that we're not the body, when we hear that Krishna is God, we like to tell somebody about that. At least in a favorable circumstance, any devotee will just talk his tongue dead. You see, we're enthused about that. But when you come up higher and higher and higher and you enter deep into some aspect, you don't turn around and go grab your neighbor and tell him about that. Actually, you can't even give the Maha Mantra to people unless they have some faith. In a general way, it means initiation, beads, and these things. Now we're in the area where devotees show up at a gathering and in the process get initiated. And they don't even know what the four regular principles are, what to speak of following. Govardhan's sister, she's a devotee, born devotee, but she doesn't live in a temple. I don't think she ever lived in a temple, but her parents were devotees. And she knows something about Krishna and goes to programs, takes prasad for years. So she's a single mother. She's, 25 or something like that. Actually, it's Madha Maharaj's sister. She went to a program. Somebody took her to a program, to a very Rasic program. And at the end of the program, she got to meet the Swami, and in the process, he just gave her some beads. She goes, "Oh, what's this?" He goes, "I'm giving you initiation." She goes, "Thanks, but I don't want to be rude, but I didn't come here to get initiation." He said, "Without a bona fide guru, you cannot go back to Godhead." She says, "Yeah, I'm kind of understanding that, but I didn't want to get initiation today." And then he said, "Then you are an animal. Your life is useless. You are not even fit as a human being." And he reduced her to tears. And she went away crying. Then somebody said, "No, Guru Dev, she just doesn't understand." You know. So then she called up Govardhan. Did I just incinerate my soul? What happened? You know, just the poor person's just like, for days, is probably like, what did I do? Right, wrong, in between, like, ooh, what's going on? You know, I got enough problems, now I got this problem. I just made toast out of the Rasa Kachari. And then he made ash out of me. And Govardhan, you know, being that's a sister-brother relation, you can bring her back down to sanity. But it's absurd. It is absurd, that type of thing. No, so there's a problem. He met one man in Russia and he gave an initiation. You know, it's just like, yeah, but he didn't tell the guy he was an animal if he didn't want it. The person came and he gave initiation. One person he knew 2 days and he went away. And what's the result? The result is, nowadays, there are 2,000s of devotees from that one. So, Palena Priya Prichite, judge by the result. So if you have the power to give the beads out of the blue, then the next day the person should be following 4 Ayurveda principles, getting up early in the morning and have changed. Otherwise, adopt the process. Come regularly to the temple, take prasadam, join in the kirtan, see the deity, hear the class, the real process, and then that you'll start something, you see. But just this magic, you know, process, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Anyway, there are many stories. So we'll keep me here all day.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare